Okay, hi everyone. I am Brittany Gardner, and we're going to get started in just a few moments here with simple social media. In the meantime, everyone should have access to the chat box right below this video, and I'd love to hear where you're from. How did you find out about this training? What's the number one thing that brought you here today? We do have a little bit of a delay. I believe it's 30 seconds or so. So I'm going to hang out here for the next minute or so while we wait for people to get acclimated and while I actually start having my voice go live for people. So you are here for Simple Social Media. This is a free training teaching you how to reduce or cut completely social media overwhelm and build a simple social media plan in which you only have to spend 15 minutes a day on it. So, oh, look, my moderator's in Portland. I also am in Portland. So, Portland, Oregon today is living up to its gloomy and gray name. I think it might be nicer later today, but it's looking a little sad out there right now, at least. So I'm going to wait just another minute or so. Again, I'm Brittany Gardner, and you are here for Simple Social Media. I'm going to be teaching you today how to banish social media overwhelm and specifically how to create a plan in which you only have to spend 15 minutes a day on social media. All right, Rachel is also from Oregon. Ooh, so I wonder if you're also enjoying the gloominess right now, but you're an hour or so away. It looks we're getting ready to get started here. And I'm really glad Rachel says that you're wanting to know how to do social media for the first time without overwhelm. You are brilliant. Don't do it the way I did, where you spend a couple of years completely overwhelmed by everything the experts say you have to do. I took a little while to learn that lesson, so I'm glad that you're learning from the right way. All right, we're going to actually get started. It's a couple of minutes into the hour, and I want to keep this as short as possible. I know we're all busy today. So if you find any special tidbits, I'd love for you to share them on social media. You can do it while we're live or later. Just use the hashtag Simple Social Media. And this is my friendly reminder to you that we all learn better when we're focused on one thing. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later in our training. But turn off your distractions. Throw your phone across the room gently, perhaps, so that we don't have an issue. And we'll get started. We're going to turn off all our distractions. No phone, no email program open, and focus a little bit. This won't be long, and we'll get going on the training here. So you are in the right place if any of these apply. If this sounds familiar to you, if this sounds at all like you, that you're frustrated with all you need to do, with all that everyone tells you should be doing for your business. If you feel like you're spending so much of your time wearing all the different hats in your business that you're not actually doing your real work, the real work that you were called to do, the real work you're supposed to do, this is definitely something that will help you. This training is geared towards the solopreneur or small business owner. And if you're afraid that your client list is dwindling because you spend your time going through cycles where you market, and then you fill your business with some clients, and then because you're busy working with clients, you get to market and you have to start all over again. This training will definitely help cut that cycle, get you in the right spot. So my husband and I were watching TV the other day, and the Can You Hear Me Now guy, the guy that used to do the Verizon commercials a decade ago, he's now the Sprint rep, which I thought was really funny. You figured there'd be like a non-compete there, but the Can You Hear Me Now thing, it kind of brought it all back to my forefront. And I kind of feel like when any of these things apply to you, it's like you're saying that out into the ether. Can you hear me now? I'm so frustrated with everything I need to do. Can you see this? Can you see the real work I'm meant to do? So I'm going to help you get through these frustrations. So again, you're in the right place, and we're going to make those problems disappear for you. But first, hi, I am Brittany Gardner. If you're just getting joined into the training right now, I am a brand strategist and marketing photographer. Those two things are different, but they kind of go hand in hand. What I am not is a social media expert. Now, you might be like, whoa, what is a non expert doing teaching about social media? Well, I am exactly the person that you want to be learning from right now because I do not live and breathe social media strategy. I'm a lot more like you. I understand where you are coming from. And because I am a small solopreneur business owner, I know exactly what it feels like to wear all the different hats in my business. And I've figured out a way to rise above all of that stuff. I figured out how to cut my time on social media and still be visible. And I'm going to teach you how to do that. A few little housekeeping notes here. I have a live bonus just for you for showing up. So stay tuned. I'll be sharing the link to that live bonus towards the end of our training. It's called The Power of Three. And it, even though there's only 2 pictures here, it is actually the 3 most engaging pictures I've had on social media, how they are different, what got me that crazy high engagement, and how you can also do the same thing to create engagement in the potential clients, the actual clients, the colleagues, anyone who's watching you on social media. So stay tuned, and I will be sharing a link for that later today. What you will learn today are these 3 things. First of all, the 3 steps to cutting social media overwhelm, the 2 changes I made that made a huge impact, and the official strategy. Yes, that is the strategy to keep my social media interactions to 15 minutes a day or less. All right, so we're going to start with the moment I realized I had a problem. And that moment was actually about 7 months ago. I'll be probably saying it's 6 months because to me Christmas feels like it was only 6 months ago. But right around Christmas and New Year's, my husband and I were sitting on the couch watching TV. It was probably 10 o'clock or something like that. And he was like, "Will you put your phone down?" And I said, "No, no, no. I just got featured on my Instagram account on one of my communities." And I was talking about a personal Instagram account. And he said, if you just spent as much time on your business Instagram account as you do on your personal account, maybe you'd see some results." And he meant it as a light little jab, but you know what? He was right. And that was the moment I woke up and said, you know what? I do spend a lot of time on Instagram on my personal account. And for those of you who have not seen it, it's basically pictures of food and my kid. It's nothing special. I'm a great photographer and I really enjoy creating fun and engaging and creative images of those things. But there's nothing I can gain from doing that other than the occasional feature, which is really just an ego boost. Let's be, honest about that. So I decided to channel the time I was spending on my personal Instagram account into my business account, which I had basically ignored for the last year or 2 before that. This is a screenshot of my personal Instagram account from sometime shortly after that moment. So actually, I think this was in March, so it's only a few months ago. But I started putting effort into my business Instagram account. I listened to the questions my clients asked me, and that is why I'm doing this training right now. They started noticing a big change in how I was putting myself out there, the visibility boost I had, and I'm here today to help you do the exact same thing. So this is your little boost. This is your aha moment. I've already shared mine. Make it yours. All right, you're going to note I have a big change in followers and engagement and interactions from this screenshot to this one. My gains have been pretty great, and you can also have these gains. Here's the one thing I'm going to say. You don't have to do it on Instagram. Everything I'm talking about today, you can apply to any social media platform. My chosen one is Instagram for reasons I'll share in just a little while, but you can do this with any platform you choose. The thing is, I've lived a lot of my life doing things I don't want to do. And that aha moment I was talking about back around Christmas, I realized no more. No more am I going to spend my time going through the motions on something that's not going to give me a gain in life, that's not going to put me on the path towards what I want. I don't want to do that anymore. And if that's something that you can identify with, let's get moving. This is a fun little painting I found of Einstein. So there's a few quotes here that are completely applicable. The first is that common quote you hear all the time: insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. If you currently feel overwhelmed with social media, you have not solved your problem. And if you're just going to continue doing the exact same thing over and over, if you're just going to keep trying whatever you've already been trying, or if you're not trying anything at all and know that you need to be doing something, you're just creating insanity for yourself. Einstein has another quote as well, and it goes something along the lines of that you can't solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it. Here I am, and I'm going to help you with a different consciousness. I'm going to walk you through my strategy, which is different than the strategy you've been employing, so that you can overcome this insanity and you can get to the other side. So every great solution starts with a problem, right? And my problem was, why do I have to spend all this time on social media? The reality is, all the experts out there say you need to be visible. You need to spend time on Facebook. You need to post. You need to engage in Facebook groups. You need to spend time engaging on Twitter. You need to reply to everybody. You need to find people in your niche. You need to explore, search. There's a lot of needs in there. And all those needs and shoulds, they kind of get my hackles all up. I don't want to spend that much time on social media. I do love my Instagram, especially on my personal account, but it's a time suck. And the reality is, I don't have all that time just to mess around with. So I started looking at my marketing strategy and I realized I don't like it. I don't care if the experts say that that's the way to do it. It didn't feel authentic to me. And just because they prescribe that as being the way to get ahead doesn't mean that that is true for me. I also don't care what my mom or friends or college roommates think of my social media strategy. There's a few good reasons for that. Namely, they're not in my business and they are not affected by the outcome of my business. They have no skin in my game. So I don't actually care if they think I'm using Facebook too much for business. I don't care if they're less interested in my business Instagram profile than they are in my personal one. The reality is they aren't my clients. So, newsflash, I actually want to build a business on what my clients will respond to. Building a business on someone else's terms does not interest me. But that doesn't change one big thing, and that is that I need visibility. To get clients, I still need that visibility. And I started looking at the problem. I don't want to be on social media for hours a day, but I do need visibility. So this is what I came up with. And the answer, you guys, is right in the name of this training: simple social media. So let's dig into that. And I'm going to explain exactly how I came up with my 15-minute strategy. The first is simple: choose one thing. I've already been talking about Instagram quite a bit, so it's probably no surprise to you that I chose Instagram. There's a few different reasons I did this. The number one reason is that in terms of automation, which we'll get to later, but in terms of automation, it's easier to start with Instagram and automate everything else based on what you post on Instagram than it is to do it the other way around. There are ways to do everything. Some of them go against, different platforms as terms and conditions. I'm, once again, not real interested in getting a social media account shut down after all the work that I've done. It does happen. I've seen it happen to some really big names, and I don't want to play against the rules. So after careful consideration, I chose Instagram as the foundation, as the one thing I would focus on. And as I'm sure you've heard, what you focus on expands. What does that mean? If I focus all of my time and effort on one platform, that platform will see big gains, big engagement, big interaction. And I can still budget time to be on the other platforms to interact, especially after the posting has been done automatically. But I'm going to focus on one. That is the first step in cutting social media overwhelm. Just cut out the rest. Pick one, master it, and then if you want to later, you can move on. So step number 2 is social, and this is the second thing that we'll talk about. All right, you're gonna have to watch me bridge this one because going from social to daily habits is kind of a fun bridge. I read a book called The Compound Effect upon recommendation from a few friends of mine this spring. Darren Hardy is the editor of Success Magazine, and he is the one who wrote it in the preface or foreword of the book. He actually makes a point of saying that as the editor of Success Magazine, he spent a lot of time employing every success tactic that people brought to him before writing about it or profiling it in the magazine because he felt, unless he understood it, it wasn't something he could ethically put out there. Much like I'm doing in this training here. All right. I've gone through this process. Everything I'm teaching you today is based on me actually doing what I've talked about, and I can stand behind that. So, Darren Hardy says, you will never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine. So, social to daily habits. Well, you can't be social by going out once. If you're talking about a social life with friends, if you show up once a year, you're not really a part of the group. So being social is all about being consistent. I'm, more or less consistent on posting. As you can tell here, I post a little more often on Mondays, for example, than other days. But being consistent in your social media strategy is paramount. So number 3, the third word in our phrase here is media. All right. In terms of media, you want to repurpose everything you do. So this is kind of the crux of the strategy right here. I post on Instagram and then I automate posting to any other platform that I am interested in. In my case, I actually automate to Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Twitter. Then, based on the engagement from all of the social media platforms together, I rate my social media. I rate my posts. I give myself a little audit. And if I had good engagement on those pieces, I add it to my content library. That is a place where I can repurpose from later when I'm looking for inspiration to post again, when I want to fill content, and specifically on Twitter, where things go flying like crazy, I can automate a little more often, knowing that those posts have better engagement. So this is kind of an example of what I'm talking about. You can see a few of my Instagram posts. You can see them here on Facebook. You can see them on LinkedIn. I use these posts everywhere because they've had a good response. So you want to build a content library with your top engaged posts. You'll have a go-to bucket of content at all times. I'm going to show you how you can measure engagement and likes and comments in later training, but you have the opportunity to build your own library, and that is the entire third point of this message. Your media can be repurposed, and then you automate. So in terms of automation, even the most basic automation can work. There are free tools out there that will do this for you. And let's talk about the last 6 months. Since Christmas till now, I have actually tested just shy of 40 different tools. And I found a solution that works for me, and I found a solution that will work for the average person. I spend between 10 and 15 minutes per day on social media. Now, there's a quick caveat here. I do sometimes spend more than that on Facebook for personal reasons. I'm talking about 10 to 15 minutes a day with a business focus that will boost your brand and your business, get you visible, get you in front of clients. If you choose to spend more than that amount of time, that's totally fine. That's a personal choice. But if you can spend between 10 and 15 minutes on social media per day for your business's purposes, that's what we're talking about here. So, how did I get from checking out all the tools, employing the simple social media plan, and getting to the strategy of only 10 to 15 minutes a day? Well, it required a lot of non-active time, which I call thinking time. For me, that often involves a walk or a shower. It's a place where I have nothing else to do but think. So I think about things that might be worth posting, and I make notes. When something pops up, I make a note on my, phone app. I make a note on whatever scratch paper I can find, wherever it is. If I'm in the shower, I have been known to, poke my hand out, grab my phone, and do a quick voice memo. Then I take all those notes and one day a month, I write them out, I plan them out, and essentially a batch plan. It's a little planning time, one day a month. It's not usually a full day. I've gotten it down to just a couple hours per day, and I batch plan all of my social media for the following month. Now, that's not to say that I can't change that. If something happens and I have timely posts I want to insert in there, there's always room for adjustments. But if you can get the skeleton, the outline of everything you're doing for a month planned out and scheduled one day, it makes that 10 to 15 minutes a day the rest of the month ridiculously easy. So my clients come to me and say, "You're everywhere, Brittany. I can't do that. I have to actually work. There's no way I can be everywhere and do the work I really want to do." This is one of those things that I call a yeah, but. So I've outlined my basic strategy for you, and now you're sitting there and you're probably thinking, yeah, but you guys remember, I've already told you, I chose Instagram. I only post on one platform. So all of that scheduling I was talking about, it's done once. Everything else from there is completely automated. And then that 10 to 15 minutes I spend per day is on engaging. So there's a few different ways you can do that. All right. I use Instagram. I automate to Facebook, to Twitter. And then in that day's 10 or 15 minutes, I spend 3 minutes going to Twitter, checking if anyone's retweeted me, checking if anyone's replied to me, checking if anyone's liked my comments. I thank them if so. And if there's warrant for an actual back and forth conversation, I start it. I do the same thing with Facebook. And I probably spend 10 minutes of my time on Facebook because that is the secondary platform that I focus on. So I spend my time on Facebook engaging, replying, commenting. All right. The remaining couple minutes, I'll pop up really quickly over to LinkedIn, see if anything's going on there. It's not a big focus of mine, so I don't spend really a whole lot of time there, to be honest. All right. And then I also spend a couple minutes on Instagram. Again, if someone's commenting and it's not an auto comment of, a robot comment, I will reply and I will engage with them. All of that takes me 10 to 15 minutes per day. So how did I get from Christmas, in which I was barely touching my business Instagram account, to now? I made two really big changes. The first is that I plan in batches. I already talked about that. Dedicate one day per month. I usually do it the Monday of the last week of the month. So, in June, it was, like the 24th or 3rd or whatever that was. And I planned out all of July's marketing calendar. All right. It doesn't take me an entire day. It might the first time you do it take a full day. So dedicate a day. And then if you don't use all of that time, you can spend more time doing your real work, the stuff you actually want to be doing. The second big change that I made is that I found a community with support. So I mentioned at the beginning of our broadcast that I back at Christmas was on my phone and I had just gotten featured on a particular hashtag. All right. It's a big ego boost. You get a ton of likes. It's kind of fun. And, it's kind of a way to gamify whatever you're doing. So I found a community for my business in which I could do the same thing. So I chose this screenshot to the left here for a specific reason. Right. It was when I was really very carefully moderating the kinds of images I chose. And I went through kind of color themes. So everything here looks kind of cool in tone, a little bit purplish. I was really playing with that to see if it would work for me, if it would help my following, anything like that. I ended up moving away from doing the kind of purplish feel, and I just go for a straight kind of checkerboard pattern now. But I found a community in which I could test out these theories, people who would notice things like that, people who would comment on whether I was doing a good job. And it gave me a way to start employing the strategies I wanted to test out without having to actually ask my clients what they were thinking. I wanted to have a little bit of a firmer strategy. I also found the community as a way to spur myself on. I found a daily hashtag community called the Graham Gang, which I've actually talked about a little bit in both my newsletter, my email newsletter, and my podcast. It was very inspirational for me. I started doing that in February, and it really gave me the daily motivation to find something new to post about when I was not feeling very inspired to post about my actual work. So, quick reminder, you're frustrated, and that is why you are here. There's a lot of stuff all the experts say you quote unquote have to do so that you can actually do the stuff you want and or are called to do. That's why you're here today. But I know that a few of those niggly little doubts are starting to pop up. You're thinking things like, yeah, but I don't know what to say. Well, I kind of already hinted at that. There's daily inspiration communities that you can join. You're probably thinking that you, unlike me, are not a photographer and maybe you create crappy pictures. Well, I'm going to teach you exactly why that doesn't matter and how you can overcome that. Maybe get a little extra uh, picture creating skill in the process, but Instagram is not for photographers only. There's a lot of non photographers that have been killing it. And while I'm not going to necessarily be teaching you how to be the next Instagram superstar, I am teaching you how you can use it as part of your overall strategy. So if you feel like your picture taking skills are not up to par, I'm here to tell you that actually does not matter. This won't be particularly popular with my photographer friends, of course, but even they will probably see the value in the words that it's not all about the quality of your skill in photography, it's how you use it to gain more clients. And the third really big, yeah, but I know that you're thinking is that you don't have enough time. I promise you, when I say 15 minutes a day or less, I am not exaggerating. And I cover all of these problems, all of these hurdles in a new program called Social Media Simple Start. I've already outlined the entire strategy for this program in this training. And to be honest, you could turn the webinar off right now, run with it, and I know you would see incredible results. But if you need more support, if any of those yeah bets seem a little bit, unsurmountable for you, this program is something you are definitely going to be interested in. What is it? It is a simple social media strategy in 15 minutes or less per day using only free or inexpensive tools. I've already told you I tested about 40 different tools over the last 6 months, and I'm not interested in spending a lot of money when I'm testing. So I only looked at tools that were very inexpensive, and I definitely leaned towards the ones that were free first. And I found that you can, in really, really small amounts of money or no money at all, employ the strategy from start to finish. I will be detailing exactly how I did it, the exact tools that I use in this program, Social Media Simple Start. So I've already given you an outline. And like I said, you can run from it on your own here, or you can learn exactly how I would instruct you to do it, which is how to set up your Instagram account for success. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to reiterate how you set up your Instagram account can actually deter people from following you or can actually gain you clients. And while I'm going to reiterate here, I am not teaching you how to be famous on Instagram. There are other programs for that. And if that's your thing, I highly recommend you go to them and not to this program. This program is how to use Instagram as the foundation for your entire social media plan. And those are two very different things. But it would be silly not to gain extra followers and clients while you're in this process. So I'm going to teach you how to set your Instagram account up for success, including, what to say in your bio, which URL to use, which hashtags to use, all of that fun stuff. The the Kickstart module is actually available immediately upon sign up. So I know that you'll probably be excited to get started, and that is exactly why I've done that. The second module is all about the simple strategy. We went over a good chunk of it in this training already. I will go detail by detail, step by step into how to rate your social media. I was talking earlier about building a content library based on the posts that get the most engagement. I'm going to show you how to determine that. I'm going to show you how I plan my month and how you can plan out your month in much less than a day worth of time, but that one dedicated day, and then how to execute it. And then I'm going to show you how I engage on social media in less than 15 minutes per day. Again, I've already given you a good outline of how I do that, but I'll walk you through an actual day's worth of engagement. The next module is tools of the trade. You can learn from my investment of time here. Again, 40 different tools over the last 6 months. I've determined which ones are the best ones to use when you are automating the rest of your plan. I'll show you which Instagram specific tools I use and how you can make your content evergreen from that content library. Those posts are gold. Do not waste them. I will show you how to keep them working for you. And then we will be going into your visual strategy. I showed you a few screenshots of my own profile recently. In this particular module, I have a photo workshop for non-photographers. And yes, even photographers can learn a little bit from this because this is specifically photography that will be employed in social media, and it's a little bit different than your average photo. My business account has a very different look than my personal account. Both of them include some good photos, of course, but there's different purposes, and I'll be going over how to weigh and balance those different purposes and what you use. I'm going to talk about using stock photos. I'm going to talk also about having a go-to collection of props for when you're not sure what to post and how you can kind of DIY your photo strategy. And the final module is a really great one. It's all about creating the content. So one of those yeah buts earlier is I don't know what to say. Yeah, but I don't know what to say. Creating content is the crux of all of this. So you can create engaging content with timely media. I'll show you how to insert things that might have a little more relevance based on current social events. I'm going to show you how to create many posts with the same content, and I'll have a daily inspiration section. There are some times you just don't know what to post, and just a little theme or topic will have you going back to your content library, pulling something that matches, and you'll be good to go. I'm going to show you how to do all of that in a quick, timely manner. So, to reiterate, this program teaches you step by step in short training videos how to create a duplicatable monthly plan. And I'm going to tell you the duplicatable part is key here. If I gave you 1 month of a plan, you'd be great for a month, but this is something you can redo each month throughout the entire year for the next decade if that's what you want. You can recreate it without it being repetitive. And this is important in creating an engaged tribe of followers that become paying clients. You will create a simple 15-minute per day strategy for being visible online and gaining clients. And you will create a go-to content bucket that we've talked about a few times already from content you created from previous months. And I'm going to tell you every video is short. I've joined a few different programs on my own. And the thing is, it's great when people have really in-depth trainings, but I don't have time in my world to add 5 hours a week of training. So the Kickstart, for example, is I think 33 minutes, and that's going to probably be your average weekly training on how to do this. I want you to hit the ground running, and I want you to start executing this plan. That is the goal, that you can cut your overwhelm immediately. So all of the videos are short, and this is what you will create through this program. If you already know you're in, you can hop on over to brittanygardner.com/SMSS. Obviously, that stands for Social Media Simple Start. And we're going to have a Q&A section at the end here. If you want to start populating your questions into the chat box, now's a good time to do that since I do have a bit of a delay in the broadcast. All right, if you are in, you should know that there's a fast action bonus. I am going to be including an Instagram audit for anyone who purchases with this early bird offer before the end of the webinar is over. The Instagram audit will include my take on how you can improve your bio, your image content, your messaging within both text and the hashtags that you're using. This is a $197 value, and this will be yours for free simply for taking fast action. If you purchase the program before the end of this webinar, you will qualify for this complimentary fast action bonus. And as promised, don't think I forgot, here's your live bonus. The power of 3, the most engaged and loved posts I've made and why they are great, why they work for anybody in any industry is yours. You can go to brittneyGardner.com/P3 and you can download that right now. And again, if you'd like to start populating your questions into the chat box, now is the time. So here's the next big question, right? How much? Today's early bird offer is available only while the webinar is still live. For $297, you will get everything I have talked about. That is the entire Social Media Simple Start program, the fast action bonus. You can grab that live bonus right now, whether you buy or not, of course. And this is all yours for $297. All right, the regular price for this program is $497, and today only while the webinar is live, you can get it for $297. It also, I think I mentioned, includes the Instagram audit bonus if you purchase before the webinar is over in the next 15 minutes or so. And in case you have a few doubts about whether this could work for you, if I have not yet convinced you, you should know I have a 60-day money-back guarantee. Why is it 60 days? Well, one, I'm talking about a month worth of a plan. You can duplicate it, of course, and it will last you forever and ever. But the first month is what we will be going through in the program. And I want to give you time to make sure that it works for you. So it's a 60-day money-back guarantee. You have to do the work. You can't just say, oh, I bought it and I looked at something and it didn't work. You'll have to show me your plan that you created. And if you are not able to produce a duplicatable social media plan in 15 minutes a day or less, I will happily refund your money. But I'm confident that if you do the work and use this plan, you will have huge success in your business's visibility. All right. It looks like my counter is not working. So my apologies for that. The fast action bonus will end in about 15 minutes. And I am here and ready with any questions you might have about how you can use this social media strategy in your business. I'm just looking at the chat box here and it looks like we don't have any questions. So I'm going to hang out and go ahead and tell you a few more things I'm really excited about in this program. I recorded the Kickstart portion of the program last week, and while I was recording, I actually decided I think I'm going to run with a new Instagram account while we're doing this program. I'm going to help my husband. My husband has a photo booth, and we're going to actually pay attention to that Instagram account, which has, been a little neglected, shall we say. So I'm going to use that account as ways to show examples throughout the training for the program, and I'm going to use that account to go ahead and get those followers up. I'm going to use that account to show how you can make content for any industry, not just one teaching on branding and teaching on social media as mine does. I'm going to use that account as examples of how you can engage and how you can gain followers, traction, engagement, and really increase your business's visibility. It'll be interesting to see because it's a business that we don't particularly put a lot of time into. So we're going to have some fun with that. So I think this is the last call for any questions. I hope that the fact that there's no questions means that the program is really self-explanatory, and I'm really excited about this. I know that I created this based on questions my own clients had after they received their collection of branded images, and their next reaction was, well, now what? Now what do I do? So I'm excited to get this information out there to more people who can use it. So I will honor the 15 minutes that I claimed, and that would put the fast action bonus expiring at 10:55 a.m. West Coast time, which I guess is 1:55 p.m. East Coast time. And at that time, the fast action bonus will disappear. So if you do have any questions that you don't want to type into the chat box, I am here at sayhi@brittnygardner.com. That is my personal email address in which I answer everything that comes in. Oh, thank you, right, Rachel. I'm so glad that you enjoyed today's broadcast. And if you guys have any questions about any of the things I talked about, I'd be happy to hear from you. All right, everybody. That concludes today's training.